Larry, do you want a Cabernet, Chardonnay, or a Zin, or a beer?
No, you know what? No, do you have soft drinks?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just going to say.
Coke, tobacco.
Sorry. I swear.
I don't want you to believe. I don't want you to Your mom is my right hand. I wrote the note. Oh, they already started
I've never lived out here, Larry. I've never lived here. Man, the breeze blows up where I live. You got the view. We're going to open this course a little later. I brought this. That's a little long course for us, too. We'll open that up bigger. Would you like another guy talking to you? Try this here and go.
I'm so happy to be here for this special occasion. And away, John and Lillian.
Hold it now.
John, I hate you. You're retiring.
Say something?
John
Lillian?
No, Daddy will miss you. Make sure you wear your coveralls and your gone fishing hat, and
Steve and I are going to miss you terribly. RCC will never be the same without you. I've really enjoyed you. You're the best boss ever.
Just remember one thing, real men, real golfers don't cry when they're lining up their fourth putt.
Mr. Penner, I want to wish you and Lillian luck. It don't seem possible. We've been together 20 years out there, and I want to thank you for everything you've done for the center, and especially me personally. A lot of good memories. You guys enjoy yourselves. Congratulations.
Okay, John Penner, you finally did it, you lying sucker. You said you were going to hang out till 70 to get all that money, but you don't need the money anymore, you rich sucker. I've enjoyed working with you, Lillian, all these years. You know my wife, Kathy, right here. You want to say something to John?
John and Lillian, congratulations. You guys have finally done it. Take the world of both of you. I wish the best to both of you in your future endeavors and your retirement. God bless and good luck and enjoy yourselves. You guys both deserve it. On behalf of the TPP staff.
Hi, John. Here I am. A lot of years. 1979. I was just a babe. And my son was like 3 months old, and he's 21 now, so it's been a lot of years. So good luck with whatever you do, and I hope to see you over in Special Ed. Bye.
But anyway, you just babysitter and our day is long.
The red light. John, I'm sorry I said what I said, but I mean it now.
I started off the morning really calm, and then my wife said to me as I was shaving, "Are you nervous?" And all of a sudden it hit me, yeah, maybe I am a little nervous. And then as everyone came in and stuff, I know almost everyone, and I started looking around. I thought, you know what, I don't need to be nervous. It's John and Lillian that should be nervous. Especially John. We're going to take real good care of Lillian, but I'm not sure about John. Anyway, we're real glad that you're here. We have a program that if you haven't looked at it yet, I can talk right over that, Frank. Actually, I didn't need this microphone. The program, if you haven't had a chance to look at it, is just excellent. It's a bad thing to have to start off with an apology on something like this, but out of all the people at the RCC that John had to get stuck with to kind of keep things moving, they grabbed me. So we'll do our best. However, we have we brought a little class into it with Elaine Sullivan from Foothill and Mrs. Hartnett. So between all that, it'll kind of even it out so this old river rat doesn't do too bad a job. So we'll start off. We want to, John threatened me this morning to keep things moving. And so, okay, it's done by 8. I don't know if we can do that. Elaine has brought a sheep herder's hook. So if anyone goes over 3 minutes, I'll yank them. So I can do that. Anyway, we'll start the evening off with Mr. Paul Doble, who is the Ruggenberg Career Center's vocational counselor. Thank you.
Heavenly Father, we ask your blessing on this gathering tonight. We come to pay honor to whom honor is due. John and Lillian Penner have been faithful servants, serving this community in the Kern High School District for many years. Many of their friends and respected colleagues are gathered here tonight. We seek your blessing upon the meal and traveling mercies upon the Penners as they prepare to leave us. May you grant the Penners the peace that surpasses all understanding. May this room be full of love, compassion, optimism for the future. We ask these things in the name of your beloved Son, Jesus Christ. While I'm up here, they gave me a couple of minutes, and I have some personal comments I want to make here. I have a picture of a presentation for John. This is a picture of the Ruggenberg Invitational Golf Tournament, the last one we had. This is 1998. This was our team. We didn't do too well. The long ball hitter in this group was John. And the person with the best short game in this group was John. And the best putter in this group was John. So John didn't have too much help. So we didn't do too well. Now, John, if you're going to walk in that perfect peace that passes all understanding, that peace beyond all saying, which comes only to its maximum to the man who gives up golf. You need to understand that. Here's some examples of what I mean. Lillian complained one day to John, you think so much of your golf game that you don't even remember when we were married. John said, of course I do. It was the day after I made that 60-foot putt. And Cody Cochado's out here. I saw Cody sitting back there with his beautiful wife. And Cody's one of John's favorite golf partners. And for a major reason is because he's has the amazing ability of finding lost golf balls. I mean, he's so good that he can find a lost golf ball before it even stops moving. And Archie, I saw Archie walk out of here. Archie Parks, you can see him, he was on our team. And Archie said, give me some golf clubs, some fresh air, and a beautiful partner, and I'll give you the golf clubs and the fresh air. I remember some advice he gave us out there, too. He says, here's some advice he gave John about ground rules. Okay? So Archie said, when ground rules permit a golfer to prove his lie, he can either move his ball or change the story about his score. Frank was on our team, and Frank Provençal confesses that golf and sex are about the only things that he can enjoy without being good at either one of them. Frank got some new clubs, hoping would improve his game, and I asked him the other day how he liked them, and he said it added 20 yards to his slice. Now, John gave me some advice. He told me I have one major problem with my golf game. He said that I stand too close to the ball after I've hit it. John gave me some advice, though. He showed me some exercises to do every day. He told me to take 3 weeks off from playing golf and then to quit for good. Lastly, John gave all of us some words of wisdom that day to live our lives by, and I want to share that with all of you. He said that real golfers don't cry when they line up their fourth putt. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Doble. Hey, Mr. Penner, how come? All right, I think what we'd like to do, if we can do it in an orderly fashion. The first roll, starting with Mr. Penner's table and Lillian, go ahead and start for the food. You know, if we get everyone down, we'll get going with the program. I really thought I had a lot of friends in this group, and all of a sudden, I'm over by my wife, and she says, "Your zipper's down." And I've been walking around the whole time, and she said, "Would you please pull it up?" And I had no idea, but she said, "You're no longer in Oildale." So thank you, Cheryl. Everyone else just must have been laughing. So, anyway, thank you. I appreciate that. I have a note from Cheryl. She gives me a lot of latitude. I don't know why, but anyway, let's get started.
John was born and raised in Corn, Oklahoma. That's how Corn is. A rural farm community. Lillian was born in Kansas. At the age of 4, she moved with her parents to Kremlin, Oklahoma, another rural community. At the age of 14, John began working in a grocery store and worked all the way through his high school years. John and Lillian were both, this is really cute, high school sweethearts. This is a nice group. They graduated in 1956 from Corn Bible Academy. In the fall of 1956, Lillian attended Tabor College in Kansas, and in 1957, she began working for Oklahoma Gas and Electric Company. John attended Southwestern State Teachers College in Weatherford, Oklahoma for 1 year before moving to Denver, Colorado, where he worked in construction. They were married in September 1958 in Enid, Oklahoma. They had been married for 41 years. We'll have to ask what their secret is. John was still working in construction when his aunt told him he better go back to school or he'll end up digging ditches the rest of his life. Well, he took his aunt's advice. After 1 year of construction work, they moved to Reedley, where he attended Reedley Junior College. In 1964, he graduated from Fresno State College with a BA in Industrial Arts and a teaching credential. Lillian worked for the Central Time Loan in Dinuba while putting John through college. In 1964, they moved to Bakersfield, where John began his teaching career at Compton Junior High, teaching woodshop. Lillian has worked various jobs and did volunteer work at that time. In the fall of 1966, he began his teaching in the special education department at East Bakersfield High School. In 1972, John began teaching bookbinding at the Career Training Center. I don't think we have that anymore. In 1974, he became the program coordinator at the Career Training Center that is now called Ruggenberg Career Center. In 1976, he earned a master's degree in special education from Pepperdine University and an administrative credential from Cal Lutheran. John has worked at RCC for 27 years and has a total of 36 years in education. Lillian began working for Kern High School District at Foothill in October of 1989 and has been working with us for 10.5 years. John and Lillian raised 3 boys, Kevin, Barry, and Lauren, who all graduated from college. Kevin is a speech pathologist in Portland, Oregon. We need him here, don't we, Dr. Moyer? And Barry lives in San Jose, and Lauren will soon live in Los Angeles. They are both successful in the computer industry. John and Lillian have 5 grandchildren and a granddaughter due next week. That's why Barry couldn't be with us today. They've been very active in church boards, committees, and youth group for their church. John's hobbies include golfing, riding his motorcycle, which I know Lillian just loves, traveling, and snow skiing. Lillian's hobbies include cross-stitching, crocheting, oh, I know this one, collecting Beanie Babies, designing greeting cards on the computer, and of course having many hip surgeries. And a little bit about the Beanie Babies. I know this because when McDonald's would come out with those Beanie Baby things, she'd go, Elaine, don't you need some coffee from McDonald's? Because she wanted to sneak out there and get the ones that were out. When retired, they plan on traveling to Europe. That'll be on April 13th. They also plan on traveling in their fifth wheel to spend more time with their children and their grandchildren, to do more volunteer work, and to me, most importantly, live life without hearing bells and telephones going off all day long.
Your zipper's open. I'm hiding right now. Very good. You know, John, they laughed at that book binding, but they don't realize the service it provided for several years with the librarians. The next person that we're going to have come up got everything kind of started at which was the Career Training Center, CTC, for years, and then went to the Ruggenberg Career Center. So he's the one to blame for all of this and pulling this menagerie of people together. And he's going to come up and say a few words. Dr. Jack Sheets.
I knew I was in trouble when he called me last week sometime and said, Jack, I'm only going to give you 2 or 3 minutes. And you know, if you can still remember me, that's really hard for me to do that. Then I thought, well, what am I going to do in 2 or 3 minutes? Well, first of all, I decided I wasn't going to crucify John. I had a lot of fodder. So I decided to take the high road, because I know Archie and all these other people are going to take the low road and cross him really well. So I decided not to roast him. And so I said, all right, what shall I do? So I decided to discuss the characteristics that people admired in John. And it seemed like a nice way to approach it. So I started calling around colleagues and things like that, and they started telling me some things that were very interesting. Like, for example, they liked his administrative style because he was an open-door policy, fair-minded person, doesn't like the politics of his work. I don't know why, John. Talk to Steve about that. He can give you some insight in that now. Non-intrusive management. People were very pleased. The fact that he didn't intrude in their workplace all the time. So I thought that was very good. But the things I heard the most, that he had integrity and he was honest. And that's the way I felt about John, too. In fact, John, about a month ago at breakfast, he asked me, why did I hire him? Why did I choose him? What are the characteristics? And I said, well, I chose you because you were honest and you're a straight shooter. And I felt comfortable about it, among other things. Well, then as I called around, including your wife, I called around and said, now, give me some specifics. Why do you think he's honest and has integrity? And they thought. I said, give me some specifics to talk about. They couldn't think. I said, well, I'll give you a few days. And I called them back after a few days, and they says, we feel he has an honesty and integrity, but we don't know why. And I said, well, you know, that's kind of the way I feel. I think he has honesty and integrity, but I was thinking of specific things, and I couldn't remember either. And so I was thinking, well, geez, you know, I've been thinking a lot, and I must be having a senior moment because I can't think of it. But then in dealing with hypotheses and null hypotheses, I came up with the answer, plain as the nose of your face. He's considered honest and has integrity because he never did demonstrate anything other than that. That's why we believe that. You believe that about John. If you know John, you believe that about him. And I can't think of anything specific, but I never felt that he's going to be dishonest or lack integrity in anything that I was doing with him. And if all these people feel that way about you, John, you ought to feel pretty good about yourself. Because you can go out of here with that kind of a feeling from other people. I don't know of any other factor of any better. How am I doing with time? You should feel good about that. Wouldn't you? And over all these years, I value your friendship. I really do. You took my place at East High when I went off to USC in 1966.
I'm probably the only one who replaced him.
That guy over there did.
I was the first.
You're the first one to replace me. Yeah, well, I was teaching in the East, and I went off to USC, and I came back, and that guy was there. They wouldn't let me have my place back. So I said, well, what is this? So they put me in the district office. That's what happens in our district. You can't find a place, somebody put him in the district office. And I was there for 950 years. Have you seen, I see this thing, I'm going to talk about that later, but have you seen this truck that he has to pull that big trailer house? I looked at that thing, we meet for, a bunch of us meet for breakfast every Wednesday morning up at a restaurant. Been doing it for years, and I saw that thing drive up, and I said, what are you doing, John? Oh, I'm going to pull this trailer. Now, this trailer's got to be 900 feet long, because he's got 10 cylinders in that truck. I said, you sure what kind of gas mileage are you going to get in that thing? Well, it'll be all right. But I did notice that when we ended, and when he drives out of the parking lot, I'm driving out, my gas gauge drops because of the sensitivity to his truck. So, John, have a good retirement. It's really fun.
Thank you, Dr. Jack. I didn't want you to fall after you already went over it. Dr. Jack kept us out of a lot of trouble over the years. And then the other gentleman that's going to come up took over his spot. And he's been trying his darndest to do the same. And he's going to come up and have a few words to say also. Dr. Steve Moyer.
John, first of all, thank you for 33 and a half years of exemplary service to the Kern High School District. I can remember, like it was yesterday, the first day I met John Penner. I was a student at Fresno State College, and I had decided to go into special education, and part of my program was that I had to do some observations at elementary, junior high, and high school. And because my family lived here in Bakersfield, and Jack Sheets had been instrumental in kind of getting me to think about going into special education, I asked Jack if there would be some way I could come down and do some observations here in Bakersfield. Didn't take him a second. Jack said, oh yeah, you need to go to East Bakersfield High School. And I can remember the day I walked in that classroom. I think it was room 506 there at East High School. It was in late 1968. And I met John, I met Jim Engel, and Norm Hartnett, among others. I remember all three quite distinctly. Jim Engel was the chart man. He was the most organized person I've ever seen in my life. He had the kids divided into groups, subgroups, and sub-subgroups. And he had charts to tell where they were going to go each morning. He had charts for the instructional process and charts for literally everything. And then there was Norm. Norm always had a smile on his face, very outgoing person. Kind of a little bit of a salesman. Always had an angle he was working with the kids to get them a job or projects he was working on to earn them a little extra money. And then there was John. John was this very quiet person. He seemed to be really nice. Everybody loved John. I mean, the students liked him, the other staff just liked him a lot. And John seemed to be a person, my impression was that he was kind of stern with the kids, but the kids loved him. They knew what their boundaries were, and John always liked to work with his hands. We did a lot of hands-on kind of projects with the kids. I also remember quite distinctly that in my eyes, as I walked into that room back in 1968, I said, boy, here's three old guys. And they're really experienced teachers. And I have to admit that there wasn't a single class or any experience I had at Fresno State that meant more to me in terms of my preparation as a teacher than working over at East High School with John and Jim Engel and Norm Hartnett. In fact, I can remember distinctly as I came back the next year and started teaching that most of what I started in my classroom, I really think goes back to those three gentlemen. My perception of John hasn't changed a lot in those 30-some years. He's still a nice person that everybody likes. But I realize now, John, I was terribly wrong. You weren't old. In fact, now I'm kind of thinking that maybe you were a child teacher. My wife chides me that I always think of a young person as whatever age I happen to be at the time. And so certainly that changes our perception as we get a little older. I did go back to personnel and tried to dig up John's personnel folder and get a little dirt on him. And of course, you know, there's none to be found in there. Some of the papers in there are a little yellow and tattered and dog-eared. And I found some of the same things that Elaine found. John was born in Corn, Oklahoma. He graduated from Corn Bible Academy. And like Elaine said, he went to Southwestern State in Oklahoma, Reedley Junior College here in California, and Fresno State. He worked in the packing sheds and a general box, and for many of us that went to college here in the Central Valley, that was quite a similar experience. Most of us worked out in the sheds and gave us a lot of incentive to stay in college. John was in the Industrial Arts program there at Fresno State, and I found something I thought was quite interesting. One of his professors at Fresno State in Industrial Arts was a man by the name of Jeffrey Noakes. And a statement that I found in John's evaluation at Fresno State really went back to his final year there in 1964. So we're talking over 35 years ago. And I want to read you just the last statement in John's evaluation back in 1964. There is something extra likable and wholesome about this young man that carries over into his relations with students and other faculty. I feel that any school and community would be fortunate to have his services as an industrial arts teacher. And certainly we've all been fortunate to have John as part of our community here in Bakersfield, but especially true that he's been part of the Kern High School District all these years. I know that, I really don't know how John ended up coming to Bakersfield exactly. I do know that he taught at Bakersfield City School District for a couple years. He started there in 1964. After a couple years at Bakersfield City School District, there were some openings in the Kern High School District, particularly at East High School, and he interviewed with E.C. Mills, which some of you might remember. And John elected to go into special education, and he was hired and started in 1966. His teaching assignment was what we call the EMR classes, Educable Men Are Retarded. So John and I share something in this regard in that we often can kind of refer to ourselves as old men are retarded teachers. It's okay for us to say that, but nobody else can say that. I came to the district in 1969. I had the good fortune of actually starting that summer of 1969, and we had what was called summer workshops. And as a little side note, John at that time was building room dividers. And you wonder, you know, what on earth would you be building room dividers for? Well, part of our instructional process during the time, it was very important for us to divide the kids up. We had learning centers in our room, and we would use bookcases or anything we could find to kind of block off areas of our room. And so John started building room dividers. And so I was fortunate in that I grabbed off 2 of those room dividers in 1969 and took them with me for my first teaching assignment at Bakersfield High School. Well, as it turned out, I only stayed at Bakersfield High 1 year. The next year I was going to move to Arvin High School in 1970. So I asked permission to take those 2 room dividers, and they said that was okay. And I had to go borrow a pickup, and I loaded up those 2 room dividers and carried them out to Arvin High School because they were that important to me. As a director now, I go around to all the different schools, and I always see those room dividers when I go out to Arvin High School. It's been 30 years now, and or a little over 30 years, and many of you are using them out there in schools all throughout our district. It won't surprise me in the least if 30 years from now people are using them on a daily basis. When John builds something, it stays built. So that was a nice thing to remember too. I do remember John too. During the late 60s and early 70s, John, among others in this room, worked on committees that studied how we could provide career and vocational education to students with handicaps. And what we discovered during that period of time is we weren't doing a very good job. We had some good things going on, but what I really think came out of that is we needed a separate facility. And out of that came a committee, oftentimes met at Jack Sheets' home. And I had the real privilege of working with John and other people on that committee that led to the formation of the Career Training Center, the CTC. A very exciting time, and we got to see the planning of that and the actual building of the career training facility. One thing that did happen, however, just like building anything, things never quite work out like the plans go. The facility wasn't done. We were getting all this equipment in, had to do something with it, so we all had to come up with a new strategy. I don't know who found it, but we found an abandoned building at Kern Medical Center, or Kern General Hospital at the time. And John and myself, and many of us got out there and scrubbed floors and scraped paint and painted and got that old facility into shape, where we really started the Career Training Center. And then when the actual facility was built, we got to move over there. One thing people probably don't remember, or some of you don't know, is that John and I both applied for the position of chairman of the Career Training Center. And although I knew John was an excellent choice, I was terribly disappointed I didn't get that job. And sometimes I reflect back and I think how differently my life would have been in my career if that decision that day had gone the other direction. So our paths have crossed several times in very life-changing kinds of ways. And it was a very fateful crossing during that particular decision because John and I both set our own career paths after that choice was made, and both of us stick to our decisions pretty well. So we both have kind of stuck to our rules after that decision back in 1974, I think it was. Well, the Career Training Center obviously continued to thrive and was viewed as one of the very best in the nation. At one time, it was picked as one of the 10 best in the nation. I think there were only 2 or 3 in that list west of the Mississippi. A lot of interesting evolution happened there. When we first started that site, we had traveling teachers who would come in from the sites and bring their students and go back to their schools. We then switched to an AM and PM session, and then we went to an all-day session. And just recently, because we've had so much demand, we've gone to kind of an extended morning, extended afternoon, and even have late afternoon sessions. So that facility is humming all the time. Well, over all of this, John has been the administrator and the person of leadership, meeting those challenges of growth and really keeping us on the cutting edge of vocational and career development for our disabled kids. So it's really a commendable thing that John has been really the leader there. In fact, I personally do, and I think many of us refer to John as Mr. RCC, and I've had the utmost confidence in John to handle everything that might come up and to really show the leadership there. In 1982-83, John took a sabbatical to visit special education programs, and particularly vocational programs. I think he went up to Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. And this was a very, very renewing experience for John, but it was also a great time for me. I got to go over to Ruggenburg a lot that year. Jack and I filled in and pitch hitted for John during that year. So it was a great year for Jack and I also during that particular year. One last comment, John, is I was looking through your application as you applied to the Kern High School District. You put down you were 5'6" and 135 pounds when you came to the district. John's always been able to stay trim and in good shape, and although I suspect he may weigh just a tad more right now, I just personally love to see people who come to this point and who have had such a tremendous career and put in so much dedicated service, but who are healthy and look forward to retirement. And that's certainly, many of us in this room want to look forward to that same thing. So my wish for you and Lillian really is that you enjoy good health, financial security for many, many years to come, and that you get all of those wonderful things you'd like to do during retirement. And I also hope that when we're both 80 years old, we both still think we're young. Happy retirement. Actually, I need Butch to come up here for a minute. John has also been an integral part of what we call the Program Specialist Council for many, many years now. In fact, went through the years, I think back when we only had about 10 of us. And the Program Specialist Council wanted to get John a couple gifts in remembrance of all the work he's done for the Program Specialist Council. Where you at, Butch? Dan, do you have a little card or something with that?
There's a card on here.
Oh, so maybe, John, why don't you come up and we'll let you open these and...
I more than you deserve it.
While John comes up, just for a second, why don't all the program specialists and those in the Program Specialist Council just stand up for a second so we can kind of recognize the people who have given this to John?
Big old one. Don't wear it in the race.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. I guess I wasn't as dumb as I thought. I took a sabbatical the same time John did. So I wasn't around for that year when you two came over a lot, and from what I understand, it wasn't as fun a year, so. Anyway, that's what I heard. Now, I don't believe it, but that's what I heard. And no one gets away from being seen. Well, you've seen the best of what we have to offer, because from here on, it's going to kind of go downhill. We have a few people that wanted to come up and say a few things, and as bad as I hate to do this, Archie Parks is going to lead the way.